What is going on? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Opinions from Offside. Kanye or Kanye? How you feeling today? Kanye? Yay or no?
I'm a Kanye. I'm a can bloody yay.
Is that like a Kanye? Come on.
It's a can you get it up yeah? That's what that is.
That's what we like to hear, mate. That's what we like to hear. All good?
Oh, good. I definitely have caught the sun. You can feel it. I can see it.
Yeah, I said that to you.
That day.
I said that to you after we played football Monday. We went and had a little bit of lunch, and I said to you, like, you could see your skin was a little bit red, but you were getting darker by the minute. Like,
as we were sitting eating, weren't it? Yeah.
Yeah, drinking water. You were, and I didn't realise I'd had it as well. Like, across my forehead and on my face, my nose, and then across my shoulders, like, you know, like back of my neck. Went all redneck on you. That's not good, is it? I think I had some sunburnt neck and whatever. I totally forgot. I didn't even think about it because when you're out and about and you live here, you don't really put suntan lotion on, like sun cream on. If you're going like Scion Park or the beach, wherever you might do, but just running around for a couple of hours playing football, I didn't expect to get a tan. Good old game, though. We had a good old game, didn't we?
Do you want to talk about your performance?
Well, if you like, you know what I mean. It's not for me to say.
Do we need to talk about the first touch finish, like just back of the net, the holding play, being the wall?
Well, you know, you're very kind to me.
It was like watching a young Jeff Horsfield.
Oh. I thought you were going to say Jeff Hurst, and I was going to be over the moon with that. I think I did at one point try the old Jeff Hurst and think I haven't got the legs to keep running. I'm just going to smash this out, and by the time the goalkeeper comes and retrieves it, they'll blow the final whistle. But unfortunately, mine didn't go in the top corner. So what can you do?
No, it was a good game.
It was a good game. You did your usual leading from the back, and you like surging runs into midfield to win the ball. You got a couple, didn't you? I laid you off held it up for a couple for you. You had a long shot.
Couple of cheeky ones, you know. To be fair, it was more because I felt like it was nice to be able to like just point to where to go, especially because you just started playing again. And when I told you just go up front and stay in, just stay up the top, and it was sort of like once you clicked right, now I know what to do. It was nice to see things go into play, and then you were bringing other people in, the younger wingers. It was nice to go and watch. Like it was good.
Yes, the first week that I've really played up front, and as we discussed on here, I haven't really played up front since I was about 13, I reckon. Do you know what I mean? Then I dropped back into centre mid, and it's a different kind of up front game than I would have played. When I was young, I was pacey, and in 11 aside, I'm watching the line, I'm making runs off the shoulder. You kept saying get further and further up, but it's like, obviously there's no offside, right? But in a 7-a-side game, I'm not used to just like goal hanging. But you were right, like that little change you made, where you said get right up and right set, because I was like also like drifting out to the flanks to try and give people up. You went, no, just stay central, get in the box, like get in the 6-yard box, fox in the box. And when I did get right up there, I'm not saying I was a fox in the box, I'm saying that like region of the pitch there. When I did get right up there, it did push them back, squeezed up and gave us a bit more space. Then we were on a bit of a comeback trail, weren't we? Because we were down at one point. And then
I think we were down 6-1 at one point, and then I think we ended up losing. I think it was 15-14. I think it was. We lost. Yeah, but it was a good game, good run out. But you know what? That just shows the strength of the English players. You know what I mean? When we're playing, it just gets better. It leads into the first conversation. The championship. The championship.
Right. That was a seamless transition. So the first question for today is, and I'll give you a little bit of preface on it, right? I'll give you a little bit of preamble. So the championship, right? It's a pretty good standard. If you take a look at the current England squad and you run through them in your mind mentally, quite a lot of them have either come from the lower leagues or the championship or worked their way up. Very few have started. I mean, with the exception of maybe Rice, I can think of straight away, would have been at the academy of a Premier League team. A lot of them have started a little bit lower and worked their way up, which I think is a good advert for the championship. Also, some of the major signings, again, referencing my team, some of the better players we've had over the years has been Cresswell, we got from Ipswich in the championship. We got obviously Jared Bowen. He's now flying in the England team, as well as was West Ham's top scorer. He came from Hull. So we just signed Somerville, Jimmy Somerville, Crescencio Somerville from Leeds. Just a quick story, real quick. Shout out to Hammers Chat. Gonzo and Hammers Chat was reporting about that, and he kept referring to Somerville as Jimmy messing around. And one of the subscribers said, I'm unsubscribing because I can't believe you're talking about a disgusting paedophile. You know, you can't be comparing him to, and he'd confused Jimmy Somerville, the singer, with Jimmy Savile. So you can't help people like that, can you? You can't help it win and plays. So yeah, Somerville was last year's championship player. A lot of them are a good standout, and to be honest, it's not easy to bounce straight back if you get relegated and get out of the championship. So the question I pose to you today, with all that in mind, is where does, never mind the Premier League, where does the championship rank amongst other European leagues? What do you think of that instantly?
It's got to be up there, isn't it? Maybe just being biased because I see more championship than I do, like, I don't know, say like the Ukrainian league, for example. I mean, you've got a couple of teams in the Ukrainian league, but I just think the championship's got to be the strongest second tier in world football at the minute. Like, it's just got to be. Like, there's so many strong teams in there. They come up to the Premiership. A lot of them do well. I know the last three that came up got relegated, but look at how well Brentford did. Look at how well Villa have done since they went back up. Look how well West Ham did when they went back up. And it's an hard league to get out of. It's not just a walk in the park. So, you know what I mean? So even with the advantage of the parachute payments, it's still a difficult league to get out. I mean, as Leeds found out last year, the playoffs give you more of a chance to get out, and it's still hard.
Well, talking Leeds, forget last year. Look how long they were in the lower league obscurity after that famous period where they broke the bank to bring in players, and the same with Blackburn Rovers. You know, former Premier League champions.
Well, you got Blackburn. You had Leicester got down there. Southampton went all the way down. Bradford went down.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield United, Swindon were in the first Premier League, and they're obscure. So you've got loads of teams that struggle to get back up. Where, like I say, maybe being biased, but looking at the Serie B, it doesn't look that strong. If you could look at the teams and the player, you got Frosinone, who are not a bad team. Como have just come up with Fabregas, but I don't know. I just don't think teams like that, especially considering the championship is more teams, more games. You have the League Cup, the FA Cup, the EFL Trophy. Some of them, that's the League One, isn't it? EFL Trophy.
Yeah, that was the Papa John's one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you've still got them in two cup competitions, which they start quite early, and then a 24 team league that is ultra competitive. Usually you'll have a Sunday, a weekend game, midweek game, back to the weekend, and then another midweek game. So the games come thick and fast, and I don't see many other leagues that can do something like that and still produce. Like I watched it this weekend, some good football. Which game was it? I watched the game. I'm watching Marlon Pack play a game against Norwich, and he was really good, like just really good, just dictating from the midfield. So yeah, I'd say they may be out of the top 10 in regards to the leagues overall, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could push them up to like 10th or maybe even 9th if you compared the leagues.
I think it's a given that the championship is more attritional than some of the European leagues. You know, a lot more like fighting for it, and you know, size and strength is a thing. I think that's a given. But just for the interest of the conversation, I'm going to play devil's avocado. Play devil's avocado a minute. See when you mentioned there the Spanish second division, the Liga B, the Liga 2.
That'll be the only one I think would be close.
Well, is it because their structure is different? Because largely their teams are made up from youth teams, B teams. You know, like you've got Barcelona B, Atletico Madrid B. You've got teams like that, haven't you? And a lot of the players that are on, for example, Barca's books, they send their younger players there to develop. Is that because it's a different layout? And have they got that right in some respects? Is that what keeps that conveyor belt coming through?
I'd say it would, but I think if we used the loan system better, I think we'd have that sort of situation. But I don't think we're clever enough with how we send players out on loan. Sometimes looking in some players, they'll send them out on loan just to go and get minutes. Surely you would have sent someone out on loan for a team that would mirror or match your style.
Yeah.
Can he? If you think he's going to make your team, then surely he should be going out and showing those characteristics, that style of play. There's no point if you're, say, Manchester United as an example, they bought Harry Maguire, which was a huge mistake because the way that United wanted to play is not Harry Maguire style.
No,
so it's like sending someone out. Yeah, it's like sending a player out to go and be a big bruising centre back, but then you want him to be a cultured defender, play out from the back and get on the ball and drop a shoulder. It makes no sense. So you put him in a team that does that to encourage that sort of play. And while with the B teams, like you got the Castillo and the Barcelona B teams and teams like that, they are brought up to play the same as the first team. So you're producing those players that can walk into the team that are seamless. So maybe they got it right in that aspect, but I think the other thing that not damages but will affect Liga B is we have a couple of islands with the teams in there. So Tenerife are in there. Yeah. It's got to be really hard to sign players to come and play for Tenerife because we are just this little island. And then you've got Las Palmas, you've got Gran Canaria, all those teams. I'm guessing are in a similar situation. They've all developed some great players over the years, but they're hard to keep hold of. You know what I mean? Like it's so.
Yeah, am I right in saying that there's a team? I think it might be Atletico that can only sign players from the Basque region. Is that right?
Atletico Bilbao.
It's Bilbao. That's what it is. Atletico Bilbao. Yeah, I knew it was Atletico.
Yeah.
Not between Atletico Bilbao. They can only sign players from that region.
From the Basque
right?
region, yeah.
Yeah, so that's restricting them as well.
But that's a choice as a club, and they have flying. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've ever been relegated.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure they've not. So like they've had some good players over the years that are there. So you know what I mean? Like you got the Williamses, not Serena and Venus, the other two, Inaki and Neko. They're both from the Basque region. We've had some really good players play in that sort of situation. I remember Echeverria when he played there, like just producing. But the players are so loyal; they try and stay as long as they can, and then if they need to go, they need to go. But I think that Bilbao, I think their conveyor belt was just well structured. It'd be nice to see how they do it and how they have it structured so well. Because you imagine like West Ham, you'd only sign Cockneys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be up for that. I think it'd be all right for a row, and the old night out will be all right, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, Jesus.
The old night out on pie and mash and a few pints. But let me throw this at you then. Give me 2 or 3 of the stronger teams in the Championship going by the last couple of seasons. What would you say?
Well, you've got from the last couple of seasons, you've got the promoted ones are the ones that will come down. You've got to look at those 6 straight away, I think. Then you could add, so you've got Burnley have come down, Luton have come down, Sheffield United have come down.
So you could look at Leicester, you could look at Norwich.
Yeah, so you've got Leicester been promoted and won the league.
Yeah.
Look at how good Brentford have done.
Yeah.
Brighton.
So let's pick 2 of those. Let's pick 2 that are maybe that are maybe in the Championship this season. So how about somebody like Preston or Blackburn or somebody that's like going for playoff places or like, you know, aiming for automatic.
Looking for a playoff place, you probably look at someone like, well, I would probably say the best team in the Championship this year will probably be Burnley. But then you've got Leeds, Norwich, all teams that could quite easily get into that the playoff places. I
think Leeds is a good one to use as an example. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you sort of top half, maybe 6th to 9th place team in the Championship, Leeds, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say to you, Leeds versus Freiburg in the German league. Who do you fancy?
Freiburg.
Why?
Freiburg are a good side. From the bits I've seen of the Bundesliga last year, good side, well organised, couple of good players.
West Ham beat them 3 times last season, including a 3-0 that I was at. So
they're good team. Comparing West Ham to Leeds, I would expect West Ham to beat Leeds. Like you've got Leeds playing against a team that's qualified for Europe in Germany. Like if you switch that up, and I think if you went to someone like say a Bochum in Germany, I think that would be a bit more of a competitive game. Or Like you've got Mönchengladbach, my German team. Like they struggled last year a little bit. That would be a tasty game, I think, especially if you did a home and away.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close, though. I think they could go either way. So let's have Leeds versus Real Betis in the Spanish top division.
Do you know why I'd lean towards Betis on that? Purely because of their individual players they've got. They've got some very good individual players. Like Nabil Fekir, when he wants it, he turns it on. It can be another level when he wants it. But it'd be a good game, especially playing against Spanish players here and knowing how the Championship, like the physicality of the lower leagues, it'd be a nice game to watch. I don't think the Betis players would be up for that physical side of it, especially. Like if you look at the Betis Stadium, it's quite a big stadium. It's quite separate. If you then go into Ellen Road, where the fans are pretty much on top of you, it's an atmosphere. It's an atmosphere. I don't think that maybe it could be Leeds is like it's 12 man. I'd still lead towards Betis on that part, but it'd be a good game. It wouldn't be a foregone.
Right. So far, there's two close games, right? And I'm going to go over to the Italian league, and I'm going to give you Leeds versus Genoa. I still think it's close.
It is close. I think it'd be a very close game, especially now that Genoa have lost their manager. You know what? I'd lean towards Leeds just for the physicality.
Right. Okay. And then I'll go over to the Turkish league, and we'll stay away from like Fenerbahce and Galatasaray and Besiktas. Let's have a look here. Just looking at the league here. I've got no idea how to say that. Trabzonspor.
Trabzonspor. They were a good team back in the day.
They were.
Yeah.
So they were sort of 8th to 10th for most of last season. You'd still fancy Leeds, wouldn't you?
I'd probably lean towards Trabzonspor that one, but again, another tough one. I think it'd be very, very close. It'd be a tough, especially with Leeds playing very much Championship style. It's a close game. But if but we're comparing Leeds to teams that would be 10th in other leagues. If you compare Leeds to bottom 5 teams, I think Leeds would probably beat majority of them.
Right, well, this was my point. You've narrowly gone against Leeds in every game. But let's remember, there's an entire division gap between the comparisons we're making.
Yeah.
So if they're close, if there's even an argument for they're close, that a team from the Championship compared to the top leagues around Europe around about the same position would be a handful. Doesn't that illustrate that perhaps the Championship is a stronger standard than most of those European leagues? Or am I being unfair?
I get the argument. I get the understand the devil's avocado in you. But purely because the only reason I say that is because they've got proof that they can do it in that level. While Leeds have struggled to get out of that league. I mean, I know the Championship is difficult and you got the playoff and things like that, but if you were to put that Leeds as they are now into, say, the Dutch league, I would be comfortable to say I think I would be pushing Leeds to be definitely top half of that league, be pushing that high up. I'd say the same in say the Portuguese league as well. No disrespect to the Portuguese league, but I just think you've got the 3 main culprits and maybe 2 which are decent afterwards, like your Bragas and things like that, but then that's it. The other ones are just sort of feeder clubs. And in the Turkish league, you've got, I know the Turkish league's got a lot stronger recently. I mean, they've got Mourinho over there, so it says it all. You've got to have some pull to have one of the greatest managers of all time managing there, even if it is towards the end of his career. But then they've also had some good players there. I mean, Dzeko's there at the minute. They've had some really good players over there. Ariel Ortega, remember when he played there? Jesus,
Ariel Ortega, mate. I used to sign him on management games as well.
Yeah, always had a knee injury.
So let's take one of the promoted sides from this year from the Championship. So the choice is yours. Who are you going?
Got to go Leicester.
Yeah, I knew you. What a surprise! I knew you'd do that. So, supposing you were going to put Leicester in, let's have a think. What league? I think the Dutch. I think the Eredivisie is a good benchmark. Where would you fancy Leicester to finish in the Dutch league?
Top 5.
So, ain't that the strongest argument for the standard? Because that's straight in the top 5, and they're newly promoted. Whereas Leicester, as a promoted team, are like one of the favourites to go back down again, aren't they?
Yeah.
In the betting odds.
I know they've lost their manager, so yeah. But I would expect that team that got promoted. If it was that team that got promoted with the same manager, I'd expect them to be top 5 in the Dutch league.
That does say something.
I think if you took any of the teams from the Dutch Premier League, I don't think there's no guarantee they will get out of the Championship, bar Feyenoord and maybe PSV. Even how bad Ajax were last year, there's no guarantee that they get out of that league straight at first time of asking.
That's actually a good way to do it. Let's flip it. So let's have a look. Pick your league. Pick your European league.
Let's go the Italian league. In fact, no, let's go the French league. Let's go French league.
Yeah, see, this is the other point I was going to make. The Italian league at the moment are struggling for money. The French league are having a bit of a disaster with the TV revenue. You touched on it earlier about Bordeaux, like literally going
crazy.
Out. Yeah,
like they had to give up their professional status. Got relegated to Div 3. Like, what is it? They've had some. Like, I just think if that was my old club, and I'm someone like Zidane or Dugarry or Laurent Blanc, I'm sitting there going, listen, tell you what, whatever you're doing is wrong. I will buy the club. Like, because surely, I mean, when the Saudis bought, is it Saudis or Qataris that bought PSG? Because the Qataris that bought PSG, they were doing something similar. They'd just been relegated. They were in the Division 2 of the French league, got it on the cheap, invested the money that they would have bought buying higher into the squad. And then when they came up, it was like, right, we're going to be stars. Let's put the money in. So if I was at the money of Zidane, and that's my old club, and I could be part of the transformation to buy them and make them into the force again, that's exactly what I'd be doing. Because surely to buy them now can't be a lot in football club terms.
And you'd think even if it wasn't their own money or all their own money, you'd think there'd know enough people in football to get a consortium together to just put enough money into to stop them going out of existence. It's a sad thing. We've had to give up your professional status. That's crazy.
Yeah. Just stop paying your players full wages.
Yeah, really crazy, really crazy. Just to finish up on this one, how would you fancy a team like Montpellier getting on in the Championship?
I think they'd struggle. Like, I think they'd really struggle. I think it'd be. It's one of them where maybe I'm being too harsh on Montpellier because I've not seen them as much. But I just think with the amount of games that they'll be playing and the physicality, I mean, some of these teams that play top flight can't play 2 games in a week. And it's like, I know it's a different standard. I know it's a different level, but you get these people that play on a Saturday, Sunday, and then they go out on a Friday night, still play on a Saturday. They go out on they play on a Sunday, but still go out on a Saturday night, and they still get up to play for their choice. These are professional athletes conditioned to be at their peak. How is that? How are you talking about burnout? How are you not managing that? Like you have the Liverpool used to do the lactic test. So basically, like, I don't know if you know how the lactic test works. So basically, they do some running.
Lactic acid? Is it lactic acid?
Yeah. So and then they test your blood. They give you like a sort of like something like a diabetes sort of thing. Prick it, and if your lactic acid is hit over a certain amount, that's when they pull you out. It's not if you can keep going. This is your body's at the level stop. Like, and it's crazy. Like the amount that these can run. If you can do all these tests, how do you not know if a player's like getting towards that point of fatigue or if they're doing something extra? How are you not planning this during training? Surely as a fitness coach and sports scientist and all these tests and things you'd have, you could read this. So how can the Championship players play 46 games plus cup games, depending on how far they get, Plus, a lot of the Championship players now play international football.
Yeah.
Because they cancel international football when the Championship. Oh, sorry, they cancel the Championship when international football's on. So they play for their country and their club. They must be being managed well. So how is it you can't do it at the higher level?
Exactly right. It's
baffling.
your job as coaching staff and fitness staff to keep your players at peak performance. Like if you're pushing them beyond that, that's when you get injuries and there's a problem.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said about the Championship is I think, like, to use a boxing phrase, styles make fights.
Yeah.
So I just think some of the teams on the continent that we're talking about would struggle with the physicality, particularly the physicality, not just the schedule, but just how rough and tumble it is. You know, like English football is a lot more about pace, a little less so in the Championship. But what you don't have in pace, you have in strength. You're going up against big, burly centre backs. Do you know what I mean? And I know you can maybe make an argument for perhaps in the past continental teams being a little bit more technical. I just think it depends on the referee. You know, it depends if the game can flow, if they're going to let you have a tussle and let it be physical. Yeah, but it's interesting. Certainly, I think we've established that the level of the Championship is right up there. And I think emphatically, it's definitely the best second tier of European football. So, yeah, really interesting. Right, just a quick bit of housekeeping. We're building this channel, as you know, and this podcast from the bottom up. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and comment and interact with us. We are now officially on all other platforms in regards to the podcast. We're with Amazon Music, we're with Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, we're with Spotify, Alexa. So we're with all those things. So if you don't want to be watching our ugly mugs on the screen and you're driving or you're pottering about doing jobs or you're walking the dog or getting through work, you can now listen to this in audio form. If you are listening on one of the aforementioned platforms, get yourself over to also watch us on YouTube. On YouTube, because we started there is a lot more content on there, and we don't want to go back and do the whole backlog of the dozen or so episodes we've done so far on Spotify. So if you're enjoying what you're hearing, come over and discover YouTube. Come and see the unheard episodes in terms of Spotify, etc. But yeah, we need your interaction. So make sure you're following on Spotify and whatnot. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube, and of course, you're going to have to get your comments in because that's what makes the world go round. But just to finish up on this almost 30-minute episode so far, have you got an unpopular opinion for us, Kanye?
I have one that I was speaking about last night. So this will divide opinion massively, but let's do it. So we were talking last night after watching a game. One of my friends, Sammy and Tommy, one of our other guests, we were talking about footballers, and he is a Messi fan, huge Messi fan. He said Messi's the best footballer of all time. I tried to point out to him that Messi could only be the best footballer because he was in one of the best teams. If you put him into another team, he wouldn't be that player. Hence, he couldn't do it at PSG. He didn't do what he was supposed to do at PSG or in MLS, even though he is doing well individually. It's not the team thing. And he was having none of it. So to decide the argument, I said to him, you pick any team. So he picked Celtic. He's a Celtic fan. I goes, right, you put prime Messi in the Celtic team and put a prime Gareth Bale in the Celtic team. Who does better for the team? And he had to admit that Bale would do better for the team. So in that opinion, as the prime player in any random team, does that make the player, say Gareth Bale in his prime, a better player than Lionel Messi?
See, I think you've muddied the waters there with that team that he chose.
Absolutely, I have.
because prime Messi rinses that league, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? No matter who's around him. Like the where I thought you was going with it was if you pick a standard team that's not surrounded with superstars, then Gareth Bale makes more contribution than Messi does without being in that team unit, right?
So if we said now, let's clear it up. If we said, right, prime Messi in the current West Ham team, or you can put prime Bale in the current West Ham team, who you have?
I think I'd have Messi.
You'd have Messi.
Because I think there's enough quality now with Paquetá and Kudos, Devil's Avocado. Enough. I think there's enough quality to be on his wavelength in the West Ham team. Whereas, let me give you what I think is a better example of where I thought you was going. When you dropped Maradona into a very average Napoli team, he was the boss.
Yeah.
Right? Would Messi have done that in a very average? Suppose in some world he moved from Barcelona and he went to Deportivo La Coruña. Does he still do what he did?
Well, look at what he did at PSG. They didn't win the league.
Not a lot.
Like one of the years he was there, they didn't win the league.
Yeah.
That to me, I know he weren't prime Messi, but he had a prime team. You know what I mean? You had Neymar, Mbappe, Messi. You had Di Maria. You had a great midfield. You had the best team in that league and didn't win the league.
Yeah, but hang on, devil's avocado, right? You're earmarking a Messi that was over 30. That's not
still one of what? Did he win 2 Ballon d'Ors?
Yeah, but surely if you're saying prime for one example, you can't be referencing an example.
Oh no,
maybe slightly the other side of his prime.
But I think I'm using that towards proving a point that when you're saying that Maradona took that team and dragged the team and dominated,
and the national
Messi's not shown that he can do that or has done that. There might be occasions where he's dragged Barcelona out of the mud, but that's when he dragged them out of the mud with Iniesta or Xavi or Neymar or Suarez. He had that superstar team around him to help. Where I think the things we used to watch Bale do, especially in his last year at Spurs, was so individual because the team weren't great. Like that Spurs team wasn't a great team. You know what I mean? Like, and then it was before Kane really discovered that he could score goals. He was there, but he wasn't the player. There was no like star like Son to do the running off the ball. There was no. I mean, he had Moussa Dembele, who was a player, but then that's really when you think of other players that did it for him. Like, was there? I mean, I think he was playing Pavlyuchenko up top.
You're making me feel nauseous with all this Spurs talk. So go on then. The barrel with the guns pointing at you, though, right? Who's the better player then? Gareth Bale or Lionel Messi?
What, prime Bale? Bale at his best or Messi at his best? Who would I rather have in a Liverpool team?
Who's a better player?
Who's the better player? Footballer? I'd say Messi. I'd say Messi is the better player.
Go on, and I'll let you switch the framing of the question. Which one you having in a Liverpool team?
I'd rather have Bale.
Controversial opinion right here.
But I can tell you why, and it's because I seen what a great player can do with a bang average team watching Liverpool when we had Gerrard, when we had players like no offence to these players, but Jay Spearing, David and Gog, I mean Fabio Aurelio, Dossena. We beat Manchester United and Liverpool back to back 4-1 with players like Maxi Rodriguez and Marc Gonzalez in the team. And not saying it was all Gerrard, but that's the difference one player can make. And I've seen Bale do that. I've seen Gerrard do that. I've not seen that side to Messi.
And then how much of him have you watched?
I've watched a lot of Messi. But I've seen him in successful teams. I don't think he's had to do that to that level. Maybe watching him more in MLS this year, I might see that side to his personality. I mean, you have to have something about it to be that level of player. But I think he's very much. I would see not to this level, but Messi as a Pogba, like not in that level. But I think the best you see from Pogba is when you're winning. There was a game I watched Pogba play against Leicester. He was for the first 20 minutes. He was the worst player on that pitch. He played for United. Leicester were dominating. They were doing really well. He was trash. Then Man United scored, and for the next 70 minutes, he was otherworldly. The minute the things are on your side, when the things are going for you, he was a player. And I think that's very much what the category I would put Messi in, but not to that level.
Do you know what? That's let me make a note, because I think there's a podcast in talking about players that are better when they're on top, confidence players.
Excuse me.
Confidence players. Players better on top. Putting a shift from on top. Whereas it's always decent to be able to put a shift in from the bottom. You know what I mean? Take the pressure off.
I'll leave that to you.
Not so easy on the old back, though, I'll tell you that, Kanye.
Hey, I'll leave that to Ali Mitchell.
That's it. Listen, we did touch on in this episode team versus talent. If you haven't seen it, go and check out a previous episode where we talk about what's more important, playing as a unit or having individual flair. Kanye also touched on earlier in the episode that we don't necessarily get our development of players in terms of loans, right? Go and check out the England FC episode where Kanye puts an argument for young under 21 players being part of a consortium that all play together regularly and develop as they age. So go and check that out. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. As we said, make sure you're following, subscribing, watching, commenting on whatever platform you're listening to this. And until next time, thank you for joining us for another episode of
Opinions from Offside.
We'll see you soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Keep balling.
Keep balling, baby.